Hey, it's the Brew Dudes. These Brew Dudes, John and Mike from brew-dudes.com. We're drinking the beer that I made with homegrown hops. This is my autumn ale. You can check out the site for the recipe. Pretty simple grain bill. For a 5-gallon batch, it was 10 pounds of American two-row, and then 2 specialty grains, a half pound of Victory for some biscuity tones, and then for color and a little sweetness, I think it was American caramel malt, 40 Lavavon range in terms of color. And for the hops, I had 2 varieties I grew in my backyard. One was Magnum, which I've been growing for 4 years now, and then my second year plant was Cascade, and I got about 2.5 ounces off of that plant, and it all went into this beer. It all went into the beer.
This is all Cascade?
No, it's
Magnum and
Magnum is there at the beginning of the boil. The Cascade I used in a first wort hopping charge. So right as I had that first maybe 2 gallons from my mash tun, put the hops right in there. Probably about, I don't know, an ounce or so of those Cascades right in the beginning, and then I ran some more batch sparge. So my next runnings went in right on top of that as I lit the burner. And then I just threw in more charges this time. I think at boil I put in a ½ ounce of the Magnum, because I know those bitter pretty well. I've brewed with those for a few years now. And then the rest of the Cascades went in at 30 minutes, 15, and at flame out. So, and the largest portion went right out at flame out to try to get some aroma there. So, again, like we talked about. When we're examining that kit we got from EchoView Farms, you know, there's some subtle hints of citrusy hop aroma, but it's not overwhelmingly so. And you know, that's okay in my book. This was the first time I was brewing with the homegrown Cascade hops. And for next year, I just hope to grow more and use more. You know, this is again a drinkable beer. I think that it got the color that I wanted, and for me, successful in terms of just using, you know, hops that you grew in your backyard.
You know what this beer reminds me a lot of, to even go back further in the video archive? In color and aroma and flavor, it really reminds me of the, when we were talking about New Albion.
Yeah.
And the smash style brewing.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a smash beer, but it is, the flavor profile of this reminds me a lot of New Albion. You know, where I never found the citrus to be really pronounced citrusy. It just tasted like American hops at a moderate level. Yeah. Really well balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
I wonder if that's because of the first word hopping or whatever. The
smoothness.
Like the smooth.
That's what they say, right?
Yeah,
With the first word hopping. So, I mean, it's really good. I mean, the clarity is awesome on this beer. I mean, that's not the point of this discussion, but this is a beautiful beer. It's an absolutely beautiful beer.
I'm surprised about that. I'm trying to. I think I just used. I just used the California yeast strain.
Maybe some of that is whole hops too, helping to filter out some of the trub as you drain from your kettle too.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And I'm still using like some gypsum at the beginning of the boil too.
Okay. Yes.
You know, just and I mean that's probably what's happening with clarity too, helping to bring down those particles. Yeah.
The yeast. Yeah. The yeast flocculation is improved with calcium.
Yeah.
So.
There you go.
Awesome.
So, I mean, I think that we were talking about just using homegrown hops, and I think the fear is that you don't know the alpha acids, so, you know, don't use them, or you only use them for, you know, at the end of the boil. But, you know, I think that you can use them as, you know, in any stage of the boil with a lot of confidence. You know, I think that you still probably got to grow in the same range.
I think, yeah, exactly. I think, you know, there's predicted ranges for most hops, and unless you have some really weird growing conditions one year due to heavy rain or heavy sun or weird nutrient issues or something, you're probably going to be pretty close to it. But, you know, I think part of it is you got to be a brewer, meaning you throw in your homegrown hops, especially once you're producing enough where you're not blowing the whole harvest on one beer, you're going to brew it again. You brew it, you know, if it's not bitter enough or it's too bitter, then you brew it again because you still got to use up those hops.
Yeah.
So I think you got to just be prepared to dial it in with experimentation. In other words, be the brewer. I mean, I think we rely too much on calculations and stuff sometimes, and we don't think about the iterative process of brewing better beer.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to put this recipe together. I'm going to use this calculator for my water, this calculator for my hops, and I'm going to throw a little salt over my shoulder, and boom, I'm going to have an Incasi award-winning beer. Well, it doesn't work that way. You've got to brew it several times. So this beer definitely shows in some of the beers you brewed last year with homegrown hops that you can get more than enough bitterness to be happy, and you can certainly get your flavor and aroma like they tell you to with homegrown hops. But this beer is perfectly balanced, and you have no idea what the alpha is. So,
Not at all.
I
mean, it was just like whatever I had available, I threw into the brew pot. I still have plenty of Magnum left, and I'm going to use that later on. But yeah, with the Cascade, it was like, well, I have 2.5 ounces. Guess what's going into the brew pot? All of these hop cones.
If it was me, you could put a little more bittering charge in there, but that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Well, we'll brew it again next year. I'll probably keep the grain bill exactly the same, the yeast strain exactly the same, and the only thing that'll be different is just the amounts of hops that are put in. Hopefully, I have a bigger yield next year. And, that'll be the autumn ale every year. So, for John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. I need more beer, and I will brew on.